Hey you, welcome to episode 1 of El Propio Rocky podcast. So here's how this thing is going to work, okay? My plan is now to have every odd-numbered episode be in English and every even-numbered episode be in Spanish, okay? All right, so, a little bit about myself. I'm from the States, but I speak Spanish. And I've lived in, Latin America, Colombia, Nicaragua, Peru for like 6-7 years. Okay, more or less, right? Most of that time being like 5 years in Colombia. But anyways, so yeah, I'm going to be trying my best to post at least once a week, a full episode. And then, I'll like have the different clips and things like that, kind of the exciting parts of the episodes on, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, wherever else content can be posted. But yeah. So, what I wanted to talk about today, the first item of business on the freaking agenda is Britney Griner. She came home. She's back now, right? Back in the States. And so, whenever I was first looking at it, I was like, okay. You know what I'm saying? That's amazing that she can just come home, right? They were kind of like talking about a trade that would be made for somebody. But, whenever I first saw the story, I was like, she's coming home. I was like, freaking sweet, right? That's an amazing, amazing thing. An American that was in prison for, having like, THC liquid in her bag or something. Whenever she went to Russia to hoop, basically, right? Different, professional sports players will sometimes go to other countries to play, right? And then, especially in the WNBA where, they don't make as money as their male counterparts, they kind of have to have another hustle, right? So yeah, I think that kind of the max that they can make is like $100,000 to $200,000 a year, I believe. The most like well-paid players, I think, I'm not sure, kind of what the max is, but I did hear that, there's some of them that do make less than 100,000, right? So some of them, have another job or whatever, right? Because basketball isn't their main priority and they're not able to kind of like throw themselves into, just being a professional athlete, right? Depending on what they want financially. Okay, so she basically takes this, gets arrested, and is thrown into prison, right? But after a while, she was transferred to like this, like work camp, basically. And there were different photos of her, like doing laundry and, different stuff. And they say like this penal colony, that's what it's freaking called, in Russia. And there, like not too long ago, there was, some people that had kind of like been arrested for kind of, I think it was protesting against Putin or something a few years ago. And they said that it's like, it gets real. They said that she's going to have to, get used to people dying and, getting beat and all this other stuff. Horrible conditions, apparently, right? But, honestly, what friggin', federal, state, prison or even jail has the best conditions, right? We're not friggin', the Netherlands or, wherever, where they kind of like try to give their prisoners like a life, right? And so, yeah, so that was the thing, and this has been kind of going on for a while. I think that she'd been locked up for a few months now, I think, maybe like 2 or 3 months, something like that. But anyways, it was a big deal, right? And everybody's like, when's BG coming home, right? So she comes home. Okay. Then, not too freaking long ago, I saw that she had been traded for someone, right? And so immediately I clicked on the link, and it was like, there was a trade made between Russia and the United States of prisoners, right? And we got BG, Britney Griner, and they get this freaking badass freaking tank of a man who's called the Merchant of Death. Oh my God! Do you know how much of a badass you have to be to get the name Merchant of Death? Whenever I say badass, I don't mean in a good way, right? Like, he's been like messing people up and just doing some like heinous stuff for a while now, right? And apparently they had arrested this guy because he tried to sell arms to some cops that were posing as FARC, or, the one of the rebel groups in Colombia, right? And by the way, like, Colombia, South America is like one of the most misunderstood and most troublesome places on the planet. Their history is very, like, not only tumultuous, but it's also interesting, right? Because kind of like there's like a myriad of issues that kind of are like intertwined with corruption, drugs, paramilitary groups, the banana issues, Chiquita, United Fruit Company, and that's another history that we'll talk about another time. But anyways, so the trade is made for, BG gets to come back over to the States. This freaking merchant of death gets to go back to Russia, right? So, I mean, in that trade, if you think about it, and I know this is kind of like, I guess, controversial, bro, but we lost. We freaking lost that trade, dude. Yes, BG gets to come home, but still, like, they get freaking, I don't even know what, it would kind of be like Edward Snow, that, like, if we got, like a fair trade. That trade was not freaking fair. Russia knew that, and they took full advantage of it. They were like, okay, we're going to use this American girl as a pawn, and we're going to get one of our freaking badasses back. To them, what's a badass? To us, which is, very bad just because, he's freaking, just a freaking savage. Okay? And so, that was, honestly, I kind of feel like the States, we lost that trade. Like, there's no freaking, kind of getting that opportunity back to get, because there are a lot of other Americans that are imprisoned in Russia, right? BG wasn't the only one. She was just the only one that had, like, the most, I guess you could call it clout, because she's a famous WNBA player. Okay? And so many people were, like, vying for her, and whatnot. Okay? So that's a very interesting situation. But I think the trade just wasn't free fair. All right. Now, the second thing that I wanted to talk about is military school. Okay, so I went to military school for college, right? So 2 years I went to New Mexico Military Institute, and then for three and a half, I went to what back in the day used to be called North Georgia College State University, which, whenever I was there, like in 2013, something like that, became the University of North Georgia, where, that college kind of like expanded its campuses and all this other stuff. Okay, it's a PWI, a predominantly white institution, which I'll, talk a little about later. So yeah. And when I was in middle school and high school, I did JROTC, right? So I had, been doing this like little, cadet thing for a very long time. If you or anybody else that is thinking about military school, I would kind of recommend it. Why? Because most of the time there are benefits. For example, one of my military schools offered in-state tuition if you just did, if you participated in the cadet program, which is amazing. Because, out-of-state tuition is expensive as hell. Right? And so, for me, military school, it's not easy, right? Especially like the matriculation process, the initiation, kind of, I guess you could call it like hazing period that they have. And all military schools have this, right? Not necessarily where you're like being hazed or, I guess what you kind of consider hazing. Yeah, there's always like a period of a month or a week or whatever where you're, kind of going through it. And I'll get into that a little bit later. But, I don't think that anybody really likes to get yelled at, right? But that's a part of it. You get that. You kind of like, learn different things about the military. You learn, in certain instances, tactics, and about the different kind of parts of the military. In your, military science classes, which the objective is kind of to teach you about the military, and the different branches and things like that, right? Because why are you at military school if you don't know nothing about the military? So I'll tell you a little story. So when I was at New Mexico Military Institute, I was the basketball manager. I'll tell you guys 2 stories. And so I would get to like travel with the team, right? My first year I was by myself. So we would travel around New Mexico, went to Colorado, Texas. I don't know if we went to Oklahoma. But yeah, we went to Colorado and like different places around, kind of like that, like southwest area of the United States. Okay, but not super far like Cali or anything like that, just in that kind of general area. Arizona, stuff like that. Odessa, Dallas, Albuquerque, places like that. But anyways, actually I'm going to tell you guys 3 stories. So one time, I remember that, they tell you that stuff is bigger in Texas, right? Everything is bigger in Texas. I was like, okay, like that's got to be an exaggeration, right? And so I get there and we pull up to this high school, and this high school had like 4 gyms. Me coming from friggin', middle of nowhere, Tennessee, like seeing a school that has 4 gyms, I was blown away. There's a basketball gym, a volleyball gym. I was like, who are these people? How big is this friggin' school, bro? To have 4 different gyms of the same, like, yo, that's just freaking. Oh my goodness, I was blown away, right? So that's whenever I learned that everything is bigger, most definitely in Texas. Whether it's food or schools or whatever, like they're just different, bro. And the obviously Texas has its own kind of culture that they're well known for, like the Lone Star State, all that interesting stuff. Okay, now on this same trip, friggin' some guys got this bright idea to invite some girls over. Remind you that this is a military school. So we were friggin', it was nighttime obviously, and so the girls that came over, and I don't know why, I just happened to kind of like walk in the room, right? So obviously we got caught. Friggin' coach walked in and he was like, y'all girls gotta go, and I'm gonna deal with y'all later. So they leave. He goes to his room. He gets a little clipboard, whatever, and he comes back out. He was like, all right, I'm about to run the dog shit out of y'all. So you're like, bet. So the first thing he does is he takes us to the parking lot, right? And he starts us doing sprints. And it's like, 10, 11 at night. Assistant coach kind of comes out and he kind of saves us like, hey, we should freaking go in and, this isn't the place. So he's like, all right, bet. I'm not going to freaking forget this. Right? So, we go back inside, we sleep, right? We go to sleep, whatever. And then the next day we get on the bus. The assistant coach has the genius idea after the game that we, because these are like, you'll travel for different tournaments. Whether it's a weekend tournament or it's, a 2 or 3 day tournament, whatever. Okay. Around these different places, which is, it's very interesting. So we get on the bus and he's like, nobody's gonna freaking fall asleep. So, we like start these antics where, people like dozing off. He's like, hey, you wake the freak up. And he's like yelling at us, whatever. It turned it, it was freaking hilarious. Eventually it let us go to sleep, but it was kind of funny. Right? So later that day, because, this was like Thanksgiving break. And mind you that freaking college athletes don't get breaks. There are no breaks. They do not get, a full Christmas break or a full Thanksgiving break. They're freaking hooping for, basketball players. Like, there's no freaking, breaks and stuff. And they always have to come back early, because either there's a game or a tournament or whatever. Okay? And that's just the life of a college athlete that I didn't know about. But anyways, so yeah, we get back. And coach is like, all right, bet. I'm going to turn y'all over to the strength and conditioning coach that, and he's going to take good care of y'all. And what that means is he's going to work the dog crap out of you. Right? So we start the workout. First it's with coach. We're doing sprints and like push-ups and sit-ups and whatnot. And, honestly, like it was still super freaking funny. Like it was hilarious that we were kind of in trouble for that, stupid thing. And I had to do it too because I was there. Right? So, honestly, it was basically everybody. We kind of like all got in trouble because, who's not going to want to freaking go to a room with the girls in it? Like, you're just going to stay in your room? Like, no. So, we're all running, whatever. And then he's like, all right, now it's time to work out, right? And my, like, I was athletic in high school, but I've never been an athlete, which I didn't understand what the difference was, right? And so there was a time when I really thought that I was going to be able to play college basketball. I had like walked into this coach's office and I was like, hey, I want to play. And this is a D1 JUCO, right? Because there's, just like regular college, 4-year schools, there's D1, D2, D3. And then you have JUCO, which is D1, D2, and D3. Okay? And JUCOs are kind of like smaller schools where athletes, if you don't get the immediate chance to go to a big school like, a Tennessee or a UK, University of Kentucky, University of Texas A&M, wherever, right? You might go to a JUCO, get your skills a little bit better, kind of like show that you're ready, and then, you'll be able to transfer, get a scholarship, etc. Right? You can do that, or you can go to prep school, which a lot of people do. And a prep school is basically a school that you go to just for that sport that you're going to play, right? Some people go for soccer, football, basketball, whatever. Okay, for example, IMG is a freaking prep school, right? One of the best in the country, if not the best. Okay, so it's organized, right? And I didn't freaking, really realize that. But anyways, so we're working out and whatnot, and they take us down and they're like, okay, we're going to start throwing some weights around. And I kind of like, stepped up, like, whoa, like, hey, Rock, like, don't freaking, hop on these weights. Like, you're going to be able to do them, because we start at 135 and we just started building. I was like, oh, I got it. Whatever. Okay. So coach gets the freaking strength and conditioning coach gets this bright idea. He was like, okay, well, here's what we'll do is that I'm going to make you guys run around there's 2 different like living areas at NMMI or New Mexico Military Institute, right? So one of those is you have the box and the slab. And the difference between those is that the box is a literal box, right? Where you, there's 3 different levels, which are stoops, right? Or floors, okay? And so there's, first stoop, first floor, second stoop is the second floor, and then third stoop is the third floor, okay? But it's like literally a box, okay? And then the slab is like in like this L, okay, where, there's 2 different levels of living, I guess, where there's, it's like just, it's not a complete box. It's literally an L, okay? So the thing that connects these is there are no elevators or anything modern about it. It's just stairs. So we would have to run, climb the stairs, right? Climb the 3 levels of stairs, and then run, go down, go down the stairs, run, come up the stairs, and then, it was like a friggin' kind of like a little labyrinth workout. But it wasn't just running. We were running with 45 pounds. Like those 45-pound plates, we ran with that. Everywhere. We did the freaking, I think that we had to do the box 1 time, and then we had to do the slab like twice, something like that. But anyway, I think it was the slab twice. But dude, that was a hell of a workout that I just wasn't freaking prepared for, right? But yeah. So, military school is awesome. It's an amazing place once you get used to it, right? Kind of like once you get past like getting yelled at, once you kind of get past like, oh, this sucks and we're marching and that we have to do push-ups and PT and stuff, it can actually really be fun, honestly. And like, at military school, there's a bunch of crazy people, which makes it that much more funny. Like, dude, some of the most freaking wackiest people that I've ever met are in military school. But they're smart as hell, too, right? But they're just freaking, just crazy people, dude. Hilarious. But yeah, like, I think that military school can be a fun place if you can get through the BS, right? If you can get through that little hazing period, you'll be all right, and that, they have great academics, and depending on the program, there's good sports, you know, you just don't have a regular college experience, bro. You're freaking doing, you know, picking up acorns, for example, on the freaking weekend. Just like the stupidest stuff. You know, and you have like marches and, you know, DNI, like, you know, drill and inspection and just this stupid kind of like military school stuff. But it kind of like, it gives you a little bit more discipline, right? Even though you're doing all this stupid stuff. Okay, and that's all that I'll say about military school for now. There was a third story that I was going to tell you guys. About friggin' when I came to the school my second year of NIMI, right? So I get there, and, you know, I had been the only basketball manager that year, and I walk into the office, and there's two dudes there. And I was like, hey, dude, what's up? You know, who are these dudes? And they're like, oh, these are going to be the new managers. I was like, okay. And one of them, like, really, like, took it serious that he was, like, going to take my spot, right? So, you know, there was a little bit of competition there or whatever. But, yeah. So, the thing about that buddy, as we'll freaking call him, he, like, started to mesh with the team as well, right? So there was kind of like this animosity, like, competition going on between the both of us, right? Like, who's going to be the freaking best manager, like, most well-liked, right? And I'm kind of the old dude, or, you know, the one that had been there before, right? You know, the dude was honestly cool. And he honestly developed a lot of swag that year, which was, it was nice to see. But, you know, just because he was around the guys, like, and here's the thing. He was white. And, you know, most of the guys on the team are, you know, black from different places in the States. The thing, and, you know, it happened with me too, like, with my kind of country grammar, being from Tennessee. The thing is that whatever slang or, like, jargon the different people on the team have, it mixes, right? You know, and I can tell you phrases that, you know, we would all use because there was someone from New York or someone from freaking Arizona, or, you know, in New Mexico, they say things like this. Or, you know, there's someone from Cali or, you know, Atlanta or whatever, right? What happens is that everyone kind of starts to gravitate towards certain phrases and certain kind of like jargon, you know, that become kind of like they mix, right? Which is a very interesting language acquisition concept, right? So that kind of everybody can be understood, right? And that was the first time that I had heard like, hey, yo, right? Because there were people from California. That's like from my understanding, I don't know, maybe it started in freaking New York. I don't freaking know. But, yeah. So that was kind of the first time that I heard the hey, yo, right? Now, like, everybody knows what that means because of TikTok, right? And Instagram. But, you know, back in the day, like, you know, it wasn't really, I guess, like that, right? Where everybody kind of used the same, you know, phrases and stuff because of social media. It wasn't that big back then, which is, you know, kind of a wild concept to think about, but it just wasn't, right? So, anyways, to finish that story, we all got in trouble, right? The new manager too. But whenever we got back to the school, he like freaking punked out, bro. He was like, you know, we started the workout, whatever. He's all, I'm tired. So he went to go sit down. I freaking finished the workout. No freaking props to me, but I freaking finished, dude. But that was kind of funny, right? You know, dude really, you know, meshed with the team, and that was nice to see. Really cool dude, by the way. But, right? There's always going to be kind of that animosity. The third thing that I wanted to talk about today is international marriage. And I'm going to be short. You know, people, or, you know, friends of mine, you know, before I, you know, traveled and got married to, you know, someone that was from a different country, you know, we used to be like, oh, I'm going to bring a witch back. Right? Like, I'm going to freaking, you know, just bring a girl back from overseas, you know? And that shit ain't easy. People kind of be talking like, oh, you know, I'm just going to bring her back. Bro, that's potentially a long process, bro. So I'll talk to you guys a little bit about the marriage process and all of the different kind of pieces that you have to put together in order for that to actually happen. Okay? So, my wife is Colombian, right? And now I have a child, but I'll talk about that, that a little bit later. But we met and got engaged within freaking, like 4 months of knowing each other, right? But the reason for that was because there weren't any like buts, like, oh, well, I don't know if I'm ready. Like, we were freaking ready, bro. Like, it's like boom, 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 right? And a lot of people don't have that. So if you're, a guy or a girl and you're freaking, significant others, like, I don't know. Hey, man, if they don't freaking know, they don't want you. You know what I'm saying? There are no freaking ifs, ands, or buts when you know that you want to be with somebody, y'all. Like, there just aren't. You know what I'm saying? It just clicks, right? So, we got engaged like 3 months after that, after meeting, right? I had come back to the States because I had just finished my Peace Corps service after 2 years, and we met right before that had ended. We were both volunteering on this Logos Hope ship, but I'll talk about that another time. Right? So we met. We started dating, and I left Peace Corps in March, right? But like, 2-3 weeks after that, of leaving, I went back and I got engaged. Like, we got engaged, right? And it was like all a surprise. I freaking flew back over. She didn't know. I had talked to her dad, and I was like, hey, I really kind of want to marry your daughter. He was like, okay. So I flew over there without her knowing, set everything up, and whenever she came home that day, like, she found, this, like, whole setup of, of flowers and, and all this other stuff. Okay? So she walks in, and I had recorded a video, like, upstairs in the house of me, kind of like, hey, I'd like to, I want to marry you, And the freaking whatchamacallit just turned off. It's not cool. All right. So, I had recorded a video that was like, 5 minutes, like, I really love you. I really want to be with you. And like at the end, I was like, will you marry me? Right? And so, she was like freaking shocked as hell. She was like, not freaking expecting it. And I was like, all right, over there in that little box is the ring. I need you to open it. Right? But in the box, I had written a note, and I was like, it said like, look up. Right? So she goes over to the box expecting to find the ring. She opens it and sees this note that's like, look up, right? And so at that time, I had freaking pre-coordinated it so that the music would play. I would come down the stairs, bro, and she would like see me, and she like started freaking, oh my God, how are you here? Like I was talking to her like I was freaking in the States, and I had told her that I was traveling those days because I was going to an interview in DC. I would eventually go to DC, whatever, for, actually to Manassas for a job that I got there. Okay. But yeah, so I kind of like set it up so that, it would kind of seem like, I was in the States when really in reality, I was kind of like, in Colombia. Right. So that's, our engagement. And then, a couple months after that, we got engaged in March. We got married in July. But the whole marriage thing is that, honestly, if you have, your birth certificate, your, you have to prove that you're not married. And if you've been divorced, you kind of have to like prove those kinds of things. And you kind of like have to submit your paperwork or get your paperwork together and then submit it for us, because we got married in Colombia, right? So I had to send my information to her. I had to get my birth certificate, like apostilled, which is basically kind of like that you can use that document internationally for marriage or whatever that you need it for, or for work or whatever. And then you also have to get it like stamped and apostilled, right? Like a state stamp from the state that, your birth certificate comes from. Okay. So after you do all that, we, flew over, we got married, right? So that was that. A couple years after being married, because the thing is that there's a few different levels that you can pick, I guess, right? A couple different visas that you can get, right? There's a fiance visa, which is the K1, right? Where, basically they give you, the one that you guys are kind of like seeing on TV, where you can come over, get married within 90 days. Okay? Like to the States while you're kind of waiting to get married. But you have to do that or you're freaking, or that will like run out. But the thing with that one is that you have to adjust status in the States. So that one's kind of like a little bit more expensive, right? The one that we picked was the I-130, I believe, or the I-120 anyways, that after 2 years of marriage, or no, that's the one that you do when you're married already. Whenever you kind of like apply for your, to get, not citizenship, but just to be able to, get a residency card, a green card here in the States. Okay, so that one has, a couple different benefits. For example, if you've been married for 2 years, then you only have to wait until 3 until you're able to apply for, your spouse's citizenship. They automatically get a green card and they're able to start working, right? So, beforehand, we kind of like preset what exactly the terms were going to be and, what exactly we wanted to accomplish with our marriage. Okay, so we had kind of like pre-planned it out, the how, but, not necessarily the when we were going to put in this paperwork. Right? So, after 2 years of being married, we put in the paperwork that, my wife wanted to come to the States. Okay? So, when you put in the paperwork, they tell you it's like 6 to 9 months for you to be like accepted. So it took 6 months for our visa application to be accepted. You have to pay for that. It's like $545, whatever. The whole thing ended up kind of like being near $1,000. You have to put in that paperwork, and then you just wait, right, for that, approval letter. So she got approved, and then after that, you have to apply with the country's embassy. So then we had to like submit extra paperwork, my tax information, obviously passports, all these kinds of like, different information that the embassy needs to know, for your visa appointment, like interview, for them to be able to say, okay, you'll be able to go to the States. Okay. And that's another whole, thing, right? So eventually we were able to do that. She went, she got approved, whatever, and then she came over like last year. Okay. But for us, the whole process took about, 9 months to a year for that to happen. Right. Which, in hindsight isn't really that long, but, kind of on the topic of international marriage, people are, oh, I'm just going to bring her back. Like, sometimes it can be quick, but at the same time, it can be long. Now, I also chose, because we knew that we wanted to get married, like, right off the bat, to while we were waiting for her to be approved, that I moved physically to Colombia and started living there and started working there. But there are some people that will spend that time. One will be in the States and the other person will be in Colombia. I couldn't freaking do that, bro. Like, I knew that, whenever I came back, I started working, like after month 3, I was like, I need to find something else. Like, I can't freaking, just be away from, this person that I've decided to get married to, just be apart for like forever. So, from June to December, I worked, in Manassas, and, yeah, I was like, I can't freaking do it, dude. So I packed up all my stuff, put my car in storage and moved over, and all my luggage, whatever. and I moved to Colombia, right? And obviously freaking family wasn't necessarily, they didn't agree, but I didn't give a freak. I was like, I want to be with my wife. So I did. And, to be honest with you, like, I feel like family, 98% of the time, they're not going to freaking agree with you. You just got to go on your gut feeling, whether that's moving to another state or it's taking a job or, taking an opportunity, bro. Like, nobody can freaking do that for you. And a lot of them are going to tell you, no, you're moving too fast, whatever, right? F that. Do what you want to do, right? What you feel comfortable with. So yeah, that's the end of episode 1 of El Propio Rocky podcast, where we talk about anything and everything, gossip related or anything that has to do with trending current topics in the United States and Colombia, right? So the next time, episode 2, will be in Espanol, okay? And I'll have, a few different things. I'm going to be trying to get you guys this content out every week. And, like I said before, I'll kind of try to get the different clips and things together as well. Okay. So yeah, that's what, the podcast will kind of be about. I'm going to try my best to get it out like, every week or so. But mind you that I'm by my freaking self. I don't have anybody, to talk to or conversate with or whatever. Maybe that'll change in the future. But I'm super excited to get this content out to you guys so you guys can get to know me a little bit better. And, my opinion about certain things, current events, current trending topics and stuff like that. Okay? If you have any questions or you want to know anything about me, please freaking comment. Freaking spam the comments. Freaking, if you went to military school, let me know. Or if any of this has resonated with you or you want to know a little bit more about the visa process, I can help you, right? Or, at least I can kind of put you in the right direction to a website that can. Ask questions, make comments, and freaking get involved, with the El Propio Rocky podcast, right? Here in the future, I'm going to be having different special guests on, whether I call them or, it's someone that I know, on the podcast, and we'll talk about, different subjects and stuff. But, hey, estén pendiente. You guys need to be aware that and get involved with the freaking podcast, man. Ask something, say something, like, share, comment, right? I'm super excited to get this podcast off the ground and to you guys. Right now, obviously, I don't have a mic or, a freaking scenery or anything like that for y'all. I'm just freaking recording in a parking lot, to be honest. But hey, man, sometimes you just got to get the podcast off the ground, and that's what I'm freaking doing. So hey, welcome to El Propio Rocky podcast, and be looking forward to more content. See y'all later.